Hello, my name is Isaiah. My partners are Jesselyn and Rick, and here is our presentation about image and video processing capabilities between the FPGA, the Arduino, and the CPU. So, what is image and video processing? Well, image processing is where you input an image and you output an image, and it's a process of analyzing and manipulating digital images. Video processing is similar to that, where it uses similar techniques, but for video data, and they focus on how computers analyze and understand visual data. So as for the project, here's an overview. We acquired 4 pieces of hardware with unique architectures, an FPGA, a microcontroller, and 2 different CPUs. And we tested and compared the image and video processing performance of each of these hardwares, where we implemented specific compatible systems for each of them so that they actually work, and then showcase each of the hardware's strengths, limitations, and requirements for such a task. So, research questions for why we did this, we wanted to ask how does each piece of hardware compare in its capabilities? It's predicted that the FPGA is pretty decent. The Arduino is expected to be the least compatible, and the 2 CPUs would be the most compatible. For architectural factors, we wanted to see what other factors would influence the performance, such as parallelism, clock speed, and memory, and how reliable and energy efficient are each of the hardwares in completing this task. So as for the tested hardware, we'll go in a bit specific. We have the FPGA, a Nexus A700T FPGA. This one is able to be programmed as a GPU despite not having one. The Arduino Uno R3. This one is expected to be the least practical for image and video processing capabilities because of low memory, limited processing speed, and lacking a GPU. And one of the CPUs we're testing is an Intel Core Ultra 7 processor, 155U, and the other CPU is an AMD Ryzen 5 7600X. As for additional hardware that were needed, we have 2 High-LECO OV7670 camera modules that are used on the FPGA and Arduino, and they have a capability of 30 FPS. We used a Microsoft LiveCam VX2000 from 2009. This was used on the Intel CPU, and a Logicam C615 Full HD webcam, which was used on the Ryzen CPU. Other additional hardware that were needed were breadboards, resistors, and various wires for circuitry on the FPGA and the Arduino.
Hi, my name is Jesselyn Jankov, and I will be going over the testing section of our slideshow. So first, the testing process for the Nexus A7-100T FPGA. We followed this GitHub repo made by AMSEX, which already had Verilog files to deal with the camera's data and signals to the FPGA, as well as the FPGA to the VGA port. And we did run into a couple of issues along the way, the main one being the clocking wizard issue, which was missing from the original GitHub repo. We did eventually find that out and fixed it, and then we completed the connection between the FPGA and the camera itself, referencing the FPGA's pinout manual. And our ultimate goal was to stream the camera's image onto a VGA-capable monitor. Now onto the testing process for our Arduino Uno R3. Now, pretty early on, we did realize that image and video processing was impractical for our Arduino, and we had to utilize other methods for the Arduino testing to work. We followed the tutorial made by Indirect Luke, which provided the pinout, code files, and the Arduino plugin to make this Arduino testing a lot easier. And we used the Arduino plugin to display the camera's feed. Now onto the testing processes for our AMD Ryzen CPU and Intel CPU. Since they were both CPUs, we used the same test benches for each of them. So we tested the camera's FPS as well as used Geekbench to test the CPU's ability on multitasking and processing, as well as using Signbench to test the CPU's ability to render ray tracing images and compare them to other CPU's performances. Again, our ultimate goal was for the camera to display and to compare them to other CPUs' performances.
Hello, my name is Ricky Knight, and I'm going to be going over the results of our project. So first, starting off, we have the FPGA. So with the FPGA, we were able to wire it up and put in our code to get a live video feed. So currently, with the way we have it hooked up, is that it displayed it, the infrared or the colors were a lot more like disfigured or the incorrect colors. So that was a possible wiring issue that we had. But we were able to get it to run at 680 to 420 resolution and at 30 FPS. The quality for sure is a bit grainy, but it is still very legible, and we were able to see ourselves within or through the camera. So I'm gonna play this little YouTube video so we could see what it looked like.
Yes! Wait, that's kind of cool.
Dude, she's been working on this for like 5 hours.
Good job, Jess. Sounds like a...
I think it's definitely a wiring issue, but it's good enough to at least read the camera.
Are you on, like, can you play it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Hang on, I need it.
You want
This thing can't set up.
Next up, we have the results of the Arduino. So with the Arduino, we weren't really expecting much to come out of it. We knew that it was not going to be the best, but we wanted to see how far we could get through with it. What we found is that it was started to record at 5 to 10 FPS, which is lower than the 30 FPS of the OV7670 capability, which is the camera itself, and the performance cap is dictated by the microcontroller. We got it to perform at 320 by 240 resolution, and we were able to achieve a higher FPS by decreasing the resolution. What we found is that the baud rate limits the Arduino, and if we used an Arduino that was capable of a higher baud rate, we could probably get a better FPS or like more better camera quality. What we found is that it's very slow and it's ineffective at capturing motion, and it gives blurry video quality. Here's the video of us demoing the Arduino. Here are the results of the CPU Intel here are the results of the CPUs that we tested. We had one Intel and then one AMD. So one of them was the Intel coming from my Lenovo laptop, and then the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X, which is on my PC currently. So we use Here are the results of the CPUs that we tested for this project. We have one Intel Core Ultra 7 155U and then one Ryzen 5 7600X. To test these products, we used Geekbench and Cinebench. Cinebench is the one that tested like its rendering capabilities, so it would render a 3D image and an HD quality, and it would be scaled against other CPUs and how well it did in that. And then Geekbench, it is more of a multitasking tester, so it's able to see like how it stands in its score between single core and a multi-core. We could see that the AMD CPU did a significantly lot better than the Intel CPU. It maybe have to do because that the CPU has an RTX 3070 GPU that's attached to it, but then the Intel CPU was already using its integrated graphics that it had on board already. With this CPU, we tested out the different kinds of webcams that we had going on. We connected the camera that was used for the Arduino on the same Arduino. Here is the video recordings of the CPUs being tested. You could see that the Intel CPU with the webcam isn't as high quality as compared to the AMD CPU. This could be factors of either the webcam quality itself, but we could see the significant difference between both of them. It looks like the Intel CPU had more frame drops compared to the AMD, or even with both motion involved. Overall, the CPU proved to be the best at all the tasks that were asked of. So it had the best for the video rendering, it had the best for just multitasking purposes, it had the best for rendering images, and then followed second by is the FPGA, where it was able to show video at a higher quality rate, and then FPS rate. And then third comes up at the Arduino at 5 to 7 FPS at a very slow, but still in the running. As for status, our Arduino was very successful, and we were able to get proper video imaging processing out of it. The FPGA, it did have small issues that we were trying to fix, but couldn't get around to finishing on time. But the only issue was the discoloration on it, and then the CPU benchmarking was completed successfully. That was the easiest to get out of. So what we would like to do in the future is probably test with open source data sets to see how it compares over to those, and then adding like wall clock timing, resource utilization, and clock frequency, and then much more, whatever we could add on top of it. Thank you so much for paying attention to our project. These are the end results of image and video processing for the FPGA, Arduino, and CPU. Thank you.